Have you ever wondered how a simple minimum payment can keep you trapped in debt? Many people think paying the minimum is a smart move, but it can actually cost you thousands in interest. In this video, we'll break down how minimum payments work and reveal the hidden dangers. You'll learn strategies to escape the cycle and take control of your finances. Let's dive in. Have you ever found yourself breathing a sigh of relief after making that minimum credit card payment, thinking you're off the hook? Well, here's the kicker. Those small payments could be keeping you trapped in a cycle of debt. Picture this. You charge $100 on your card, and your minimum payment is just $20. Feels manageable, right? But here's the catch. If you only pay that minimum, it could take you years to pay off that balance, and you'll end up paying way more than you originally spent. So, why do we fall for this trap? It's easy to think we're making progress when, in reality, we're stuck in a financial hamster wheel. Let's dive into how these minimum payments can impact your financial future and what you can do to break free. But first, if you're enjoying this content, please like, share, and subscribe to Chill Finance for Real Life. Your support helps us keep bringing you valuable insights. Before we dive in, please remember that this video is for educational purposes only. It's not financial, legal, or tax advice. I encourage you to do your own research and consider seeking professional guidance if needed. Now, let's explore how those small minimum payments on credit cards can keep you trapped in debt. Imagine you have a credit card balance of $1,000. If you only pay the minimum, let's say $25, you might think you're making progress. But here's the catch. With interest, it could take years to pay it off. Think about it. If your interest rate is 20%, you may end up paying way more than that $1,000. It's like running on a treadmill, lots of effort, but you're not really going anywhere. So, why do these small payments keep you trapped? Well, they often just cover the interest, not the principal. The principal is the original amount you borrowed. If you're only paying interest, your debt isn't shrinking. Let's break it down with a quick example. If you owe $1,000 and pay $25 a month, you might think you're almost there. But if your interest adds up to $50 each month, you're barely making a dent. Now, let's recap. Credit cards can be helpful, but if you're only making minimum payments, you could be stuck in a cycle of debt. It's essential to understand how your payments work. So, what can you do instead? Consider making larger payments when possible. Even a little extra can make a big difference in the long run. Alright, now let's zoom out and think about your financial goals. How does credit card debt fit into the bigger picture? Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding your finances is the first step toward freedom. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you're just making the minimum payment on your credit card? You might think, hey, I'm managing my debt, and I can handle this. But let me ask you this. What if that small payment is actually keeping you trapped in a cycle of debt? Picture this. You've got a credit card balance of $1,000 with an interest rate of 7%. If you only make the minimum payment, which is typically around 2% of your balance, that's just $20 a month. At first glance, that seems manageable, right? But here's where it gets tricky. When you make that minimum payment, you're not just chipping away at your balance. You're primarily covering the interest, which is about $5.83 in the first month. So, after that payment, your balance only drops to $979.17. You're left thinking you're making progress, but in reality, you're barely moving the needle. Let's take a moment to visualize this. Imagine you're trying to fill a bucket with water, but there's a hole at the bottom. Every time you pour in a gallon, a little leaks out. That's what making minimum payments feels like. You're pouring in money, but it's not enough to fill the bucket, and the hole keeps draining it away. Now, if you continue with just those small payments, it could take you over 5 years to pay off that $1,000 balance, and you'll end up paying more than $150 in interest alone. That's money you could have spent on something meaningful, like a vacation, or even saving for your future. So, why do we fall into this trap? It's easy to feel comfortable with those low minimum payments. They give us a sense of control, but they can lead us down a path where we feel stuck. It's a bit like driving with a flat tire. Sure, you can keep going, but you're not going to get very far, and it's going to cost you more in the long run. Now, let's think about the bigger picture. If you were to increase your payment to $100 a month, you'd pay off that same $1,000 balance in just over 10 months, and your total interest paid would drop to about $20. That's a significant difference. You'd save time, money, and, most importantly, you'd free yourself from the burden of debt much sooner. Here's a quick recap. Those minimum payments might seem like a safety net, but they're more like a trap. They keep you in a cycle of debt that can feel overwhelming. So, what can you do instead? Consider this. What if you treated your credit card payments like a monthly bill that you can control? By prioritizing your payments, you can take charge of your finances and break free from that cycle. I want you to think about your own situation. Are you making just the minimum payments? How would it feel to pay off your balance faster? Imagine the relief of not having that debt hanging over your head. As we wrap up, remember that every dollar you put towards your balance is a step closer to financial freedom. So, the next time you're tempted to just make that minimum payment, ask yourself, is this really helping me, or is it keeping me trapped? Let's take charge of our finances together, one payment at a time. When it comes to credit cards, many people think that making the minimum payment is a safe way to manage their debt. But let's take a closer look at how those small payments can actually keep you trapped in a cycle of debt. First, let's set a consistent interest rate for our calculations. We'll use 7%. This is a common rate for many credit cards. It's important to understand that credit card interest compounds, meaning you pay interest on the interest if you don't pay your balance in full. Let's say you have a balance of $1,000 on your credit card. If your interest rate is 7%, you're going to incur interest on that balance. To find out how much interest you're charged monthly, we need to divide that annual interest rate by 12. So, 7% divided by 12 gives us approximately 0.0583 or 5.83% per month. Now, if we multiply that monthly interest rate by your balance of $1,000, we find that your monthly interest charge is about $58.30. Now, if you only make the minimum payment, which is often around 2% of your balance, you would pay $20. That's a small payment, right? But here's where the math gets brutal. If you pay $20, that goes towards the interest first. So, $58.30 in interest minus $20 means you still owe $38.30 in interest. And your balance? It doesn't decrease much. After that payment, your new balance is $980.30. But guess what? The next month, you'll still be charged interest on that new balance. Let's do a quick recap. You started with $1,000. You paid $20, but due to the interest, your balance barely budged. This cycle continues month after month. Now, let's see how long it would take to pay off that $1,000 balance if you only make the minimum payment. If you continue to pay $20 each month, it could take you over 5 years to pay off your debt completely. And in that time, you could end up paying more than $200 in interest alone. That's a lot of money for just making the minimum payment. It's like running on a treadmill. You're moving, but you're not really getting anywhere. So, what happens if you decide to pay a little more? Let's say you increase your payment to $50. That's a much better option. With a payment of $50, you're not only covering the interest but also making a dent in the principal balance. Your interest for the first month is still $58.30. But now, when you pay $50, you reduce your balance by the difference. So, $50 minus $58.30 means you still owe $8.30 in interest, but your new balance is now $951.70. By increasing your payment, you can pay off your debt much faster. You'll still be paying interest, but you're making progress. Now, let's pause for a moment. Have you ever thought about how much money you're actually throwing away on interest by only making those small payments? It's a staggering amount. If you continue with that $50 payment, you could pay off your balance in less than 2 years, saving yourself hundreds of dollars in interest. It's clear that making just the minimum payment can keep you in a cycle of debt for years. You think you're managing your finances, but in reality, you could be digging yourself deeper into a hole. So, what's the takeaway here? If you can, always try to pay more than the minimum. Even a small increase in your payments can make a big difference in the long run. Now, I want you to think about your own credit card situation. Are you making only the minimum payment? How would it feel to take control of your debt and actually see your balance go down? Remember, it's not just about making payments, it's about making smart payments. If you change your approach, you can break free from that cycle and start building a better financial future. So, the next time you look at your credit card statement, ask yourself, am I just treading water, or am I really making progress? Let's take charge of our finances together. If you found this information helpful, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it too. Your journey toward financial freedom starts with understanding the math behind your credit card payments. Meet Sarah, a 32-year-old graphic designer. Sarah loves her job, but she also loves her credit card rewards. One day, she decided to treat herself to a new laptop for $2,000. She put it on her credit card with an interest rate of 7%. Sarah was thrilled to have the laptop, but when the bill came, she noticed the minimum payment was only $50. No problem, she thought, I can handle that. But here's the catch. If she only paid that minimum amount, it would take her almost 5 years to pay off the laptop, and she would end up paying over $600 in interest. Imagine Sarah, working hard, but feeling that weight of debt hanging over her. It's like carrying a backpack full of rocks. Instead of enjoying her new laptop, she stressed about her finances. What if she had paid just a little more? Now let's meet James, a 25-year-old recent college graduate. He graduated with student loans and credit card debt. He bought a used car for $10,000 and put it on a credit card. The minimum payment was $100. James thought, I'll just pay the minimum, it's manageable. But if he continued that way, he'd be paying off that car for over 7 years, with nearly $3,000 in interest. That's a lot of extra money for a car. James could have made a different choice. If he paid $300 a month instead, he could clear that debt in about 3 years and save a significant amount on interest. Think about it, how often do we settle for the easy path? Next, we have Maria, a 45-year-old single mom. She has a credit card balance of $3,000. The minimum payment is around $75. Maria thinks, that's all I can afford right now. But here's the reality. If she keeps paying just that minimum, she'll be in debt for over 5 years, paying more than $1,000 in interest. It's like running on a treadmill, she's busy, but going nowhere. What if she found a way to pay $100 a month instead? She'd be debt-free in just over 3 years. That's less time worrying about money and more time enjoying life with her kids. And then there's David, a 55-year-old who owns a small business. He has a credit card debt of $15,000 with a minimum payment of $200. He thinks, I'll just pay the minimum, I need cash flow for my business. But let's do the math. If David only pays the minimum, it could take him over 10 years to pay off that debt, costing him more than $6,000 in interest. That's money he could invest back into his business. David could change his approach by paying $400 a month. This way, he would be debt-free in about 4 years, saving himself a fortune in interest. So, what's the takeaway here? Paying the minimum might feel safe, but it can keep you trapped in a cycle of debt. Ask yourself, are you ready to break free? Alright, let's talk about credit card minimum payments. You might think those small payments are manageable, but they can keep you trapped in a cycle of debt. First, let's understand how minimum payments work. Typically, they're a small percentage of your balance, often around 2 to 3%. So, if you owe $1,000, your minimum payment could be $20 to $30. Feels easy, right? But here's the kicker. Paying just the minimum means you're barely scratching the surface of your debt. Next, consider interest rates. Credit cards often have high interest rates, sometimes exceeding 20%. If you only pay the minimum, most of your payment goes toward interest, not your principal balance. This means your debt can linger longer than you think. Have you ever looked at your statement and felt like you're running in place? Let's talk time. If you only pay the minimum on a balance of $1,000, it could take years to pay off, and you might end up paying hundreds in interest. Imagine if you could invest that money instead. What could you achieve with that extra cash flow? Now, let's shift gears. What if you make larger payments? Paying just a little more than the minimum can significantly reduce your debt and the interest you pay over time. For example, if you pay $100 instead of $20, you'll see your balance drop much faster. It's like taking the express lane to financial freedom. Remember, those small payments can create a false sense of security. Feels good to check off a payment, but are you really making progress? Ask yourself, is this the best use of my money? Finally, let's recap. Minimum payments might seem convenient, but they can keep you in debt longer and cost you more in interest. Consider your financial goals. Are you ready to break free from the cycle? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your journey to financial wellness starts with understanding your choices. Have you ever looked at your credit card statement and thought, oh, just a small payment will do? If so, you're not alone. Many people believe that making just the minimum payment is a safe and sound strategy. But here's the catch. Those small payments can keep you trapped in a cycle of debt. Let's break it down. If you owe $1,000 on your credit card with an interest rate of 20%, and you only make the minimum payment of $25, it could take you years to pay off that balance. You might think, that's manageable. But here's the kicker. You'll end up paying nearly double that amount in interest alone. Now, you might be thinking, but I need my credit card for emergencies. I get it. It's a tool, and like any tool, it can be used wisely or recklessly. Instead of relying on minimum payments, consider setting a budget that allows you to pay more than the minimum. This not only helps you escape the debt trap but also boosts your credit score over time. Alright, let's zoom out for a moment. Imagine if you redirected that money you're currently throwing at interest into savings or investments instead. Over time, even small amounts can grow significantly. Think about it. Would you rather pay interest or earn interest? So, what's holding you back from taking control of your finances? Is it fear of change or simply a habit? I encourage you to reflect on this. Take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. What strategies have you found helpful to manage credit card debt? Let's start a conversation and support each other on this journey to financial freedom. Have you ever wondered why making just the minimum payment on your credit card feels like running on a treadmill? You're moving, but you're not getting anywhere. Let's break it down. When you pay only the minimum, you're often just covering the interest. For example, if your balance is $1,000 and your interest rate is 15%, your minimum payment might only be $25. Sounds manageable, right? But here's the catch. Most of that payment goes straight to interest, leaving your balance barely touched. Now, let's say you keep this pattern for a year. With minimal payments, you could end up paying over $150 in interest alone, and your balance hardly decreases. That's like paying for a movie ticket but never actually watching the film. So, why does this matter? Because staying in this cycle can trap you in debt longer than you think. It's not just about the money, it's about your financial freedom. Alright, now let's zoom out and think about your financial goals. If you want to purchase a home or save for retirement, being stuck in credit card debt can hold you back. Here's a quick recap. Making only minimum payments keeps you in a cycle of debt. Instead, aim to pay more than the minimum whenever possible. Even an extra $10 can make a difference in the long run. What strategies have you used to tackle your credit card debt? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's help each other break free from the cycle of minimum payments. As we wrap up, let's remember why those small credit card minimum payments can keep you trapped in debt. They often lead to high interest costs over time. Paying just the minimum can extend your repayment period significantly. It can impact your credit score if you carry high balances. You're missing out on opportunities to save or invest that money. It creates a cycle of debt that's hard to break free from. Take control of your finances today. Remember, a little effort now can lead to big rewards later. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe for more insights. Empower your finances, one step at a time. Until next time, stay calm and keep learning. And don't miss our next video, where we'll explore budgeting techniques that actually work in real life.